from the Digital Media Center on the campus of Southern Oregon University in Ashland, Oregon. This is Ramping Up Your English, an educational program for intermediate level English language learners. Here's your host for Ramping Up Your English, John Letts.
Welcome to Ramping Up Your English. Ramping Up Your English is for English language learners from all language backgrounds who have already begun the process of learning English as their second language. It's a program for people of all ages. If you're seeking greater English proficiency, this program is designed to help you reach that goal. Ramping Up Your English is a support program for English learners who have already passed the beginning stages of learning English. We take a content-based approach to helping you reach higher English proficiency. We use English to teach English. The theme of our first unit is trains and railroads. This is episode 31, segment 1. In our last episode, we traveled into the Canadian Rockies aboard Via Rail's Canadian. Today, we go south, way south, along the Pacific coast to Amtrak's Surfliner, riding from San Luis Obispo to San Diego. Rumbling along the Southern California coast, Amtrak Surfliner takes you to the beach and to some incredible sights in this part of the Golden State. It's an example of a regional train supported by the state of California and part of the Amtrak system. The Surfliner goes as far north as San Luis Obispo and as far south as San Diego. It passes through the hub of Los Angeles. You can come and go to and from San Luis Obispo on the daily Coast Starlight. Although San Luis Obispo is not on the ocean, there are scenes of great beauty near this small city.
Oh, I like that one right there. Picture, snap right there.
History fans will find plenty from the past here, including the mission that gives the town its name. Rolling south out of San Luis Obispo, the Surfliner soon lives up to its name, hugging the Pacific Ocean coast for over 100 miles. The Surfliner will take you to Union Station in Los Angeles, where local transportation is easy to use. You can board long-distance trains here as well, including the Sunset Limited to New Orleans and the Southwest Chief to Chicago, and the Coast Starlight. But to go south from here, you need the Surfliner. South of Los Angeles, the Surfliner brings you right up close to classic California beaches, with plenty of surf, parks, lifeguards, and sunshine. At San Diego, you can visit Old Town, buildings from San Diego's beginnings. Visitors can learn how these early San Diegans lived. Pioneer residents of San Diego had to be self-reliant. There were very few luxuries, and most things they needed, they had to make themselves. In Old Town, you get a quick glimpse of the life they had back then.
The Surfliner terminates at San Diego's Santa Fe Station, named for the railroad that provided passenger service in the past. Santa Fe Station is a full-service Amtrak station. There are still some touches here of railroad's golden age. Today, the station serves passengers of the Surfliner. It's located near the waterfront. San Diego has always been and continues to be all about the water. If you're interested in maritime things, there's a lot for you to enjoy along the waterfront in San Diego. It's easy and cheap to get on this glistening water. Just board the ferry to Coronado across the bay. We pass the USS Midway, an aircraft carrier that's now retired and welcomes visitors as a museum. You can get to Coronado by crossing this highway bridge, but then you'd miss the trip across the water and the great view of San Diego's skyline from the bay. Coronado contains a huge Navy base and upscale neighborhoods, plus a great view back at San Diego. Balboa Park was the site of the World's Fair and has some great architecture in a garden setting, but we kept finding ourselves back at the waterfront. There's a captured Soviet sub here, and you can explore it inside and out. You can see tall ships here, one called the Star of India. You can book a harbor tour or take a whale watching cruise. You can almost always see aircraft carriers at the Navy base and see the carrier's helicopters getting ready for their next mission. San Diego is, among other things, a Navy town. Amtrak Surfliner brings you here and takes you home. Thanks for watching.
Welcome back to Ramping Up Your English, a support program for intermediate level English learners who want to improve their English proficiency. If that's you, you're in the right place. The Pacific coast of California is a cornucopia of superlative railroad experiences. We'll explore another one after this. This is a Ramping Up Your English book review. If your English proficiency is nudging into the advanced level, you might be able to appreciate this high-quality book from National Geographic. It's entitled World's Great Train Journeys. As the title suggests, readers will learn about passenger trains in countries outside of the United States. One chapter I especially enjoyed was the one about the train through Mexico's Copper Canyon. I should warn you, though, reading this book might lengthen your bucket list. Reading is the most effective way to build vocabulary for intermediate language learners. Reading World's Great Train Journeys would be an exciting yet challenging experience for English learners. If nothing else, you'll enjoy the beautiful photographs. For Ramping Up Your English, I'm John Letts. Welcome back to Ramping Up Your English. Our goal is to help you elevate your level of English proficiency in a way that causes the least amount of stress. Our approach is to make English learning interesting and fun by using a thematic approach, and our first theme is trains and railroads. This is episode 31, segment 2. We're almost at the end of this unit. In earlier episodes, I had viewers do an informal self-assessment of their English comprehension skills, and today we do it again. Now, if you've been with me since the beginning of this unit, you've used a notebook in which to do our language activities. And those are as posted on our website, letscreate.org. You've also recorded some self-assessments in the notebook, and it's time to open it to a new page for today's assignment. Now, the way this works is to watch a video clip and estimate the percent of the clip you understand. It's that simple. So if you feel you understand half of what you see and hear, then you would put 50% in your notebook, along with the date and the episode number, which is 31. If you understand more than half, but less than all, you might put 75%. Or if you understand almost everything, then you could put 90%. Now we'll want to do this with the next video clip. So now is the time to grab that notebook or any paper and a pencil and a pen or a pen. And then we'll get to that video. We'll get it rolling for you soon. This is a Ramping Up Your English book review. After American Railroad's golden age, thousands of miles of track were abandoned. Rather than see these valuable transportation corridors disappear, an organization called Rails to Trails turns them into trails for bicycling, hiking, and sometimes horseback riding. Members get to see good work that's being done by enjoying the organization's magazine. Each issue features rail trails throughout the country, as well as maps that can help them enjoy them. There are always interesting features like this one on railroad trestles. If you want to receive the magazine, you must become a member. I bought my first copy from a group that supports libraries, but I soon became a member myself to support their important work. Millions of people are enjoying healthy lives by getting outside and using these trails. And if you need something to feel good about, you can always enjoy a Rails to Trails magazine. You can contact Rails to Trails at railstotrails.org. You may never get to drive a train, but you can enjoy hiking and biking where the trains used to pass. For Ramping Up Your English, I'm John Letts. Welcome back to Ramping Up Your English. We're doing a self-assessment today. Now, what you'll need to record after watching the next video is what percent of the video did you understand? The video clip's coming up soon. Now, there's a small community along the California coast called Fort Bragg. People come to Fort Bragg to ride the skunk. No, there are no giant stinky mammals here. The skunk is the nickname of a tourist train that begins in Fort Bragg and goes inland through a second growth redwood forest. Let's climb aboard for an unforgettable ride.
The California Western Railroad was probably not overjoyed when people started calling its train the skunk. But today, it's the bread and butter of this excursion railroad.
Chugga, 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 chugga up the hill. Puffin' and a chuggin', you know that engine will reach the summit and go down.
Located in Fort Bragg, California, this powerful steam locomotive pulls passengers into the past.
Look at the engine, that's old 45. Fired up and ready, she seems to come alive.
There really are engineers licensed to operate steam engines. They ride in the cab along with the firemen. They work together to give passengers a safe and memorable ride. While the age of steam ended many years ago, steam locomotives are alive and well all over the country on excursion railroads, including this one here at Fort Bragg. On this day, we see Boy Scouts on a double adventure, a train ride and summer camp. We're on our own adventure, handing our tickets to the conductor and climbing aboard. Trackside, we see a water tower, an essential element to steam locomotives.
You can't see beyond our train shed, but there used to be a big lumber mill out there, the Union Lumber Company. And we started out here in 1885, and we had a steamship line that transported all those pieces of lumber down to San Francisco where we sold it.
Slowly, we eased forward and rolled out of town toward the second growth redwood forest that makes this train ride so special. The large windows provided a great view from the coach, but I was soon in the open car, right out there with the fresh air and the trees.
And as we go over the bridge, obviously in both directions, 90 miles an hour up on the top of the bridges. So we're going 30 miles an hour in town. But this area right here, the winds are estimated to be 2. Right window, you can see tall redwood stump.
It was this redwood forest that gave the railroad its birth. Born to haul logs to build San Francisco back in the 1800s, the trees are growing back, making this train ride a visit to the redwood forest.
It has no economic value.
During lunch, we could see how a steam locomotive works. The cam is moved by the steam-powered piston attached to the wheels to make them turn. We took on more water before the crew prepared to take us back to Fort Bragg. Passengers nodded off in the coach, while people like me returned to the open car. This train had a special crew member, a train singer, Greg Schindel, who led us in a familiar train song.
I've been working on the railroad, one song long. Oh yes. I've been working on the railroad all the livelong day.
My father-in-law kept the camera rolling as we returned to Fort Bragg.
Spot here. Okay, we're about ready to get off, so I will talk. Oh, here's an old train that they're remodeling.
This car we were passing would carry future passengers on this great redwood forest ride. We'd keep the memories of a day well spent.
The California Western Railroad began as a logging railroad to supply lumber to San Francisco back in 1885 and again during the disastrous earthquake of 1906. San Francisco rebuilt after that earthquake, and 110 years later, it's one of the most beautiful cities in the world. Now let's look at your self-assessment. What % of the last video clip did you understand? This becomes your comprehension score to compare with your comprehension in our earlier episodes. Now, if you've been using your notebook, leaf back to find an earlier comprehension score. You'll find it in our earlier episodes, even as far back as episode 1. See if you can find a graph in there. Now, you may find this graph that we made for episode 7. Today, we'll add to the graph and see how much your comprehension has grown over the time that you've watched the many video clips about our theme. Back at episode 7, we plotted this graph as an example of growth in comprehension by episode. This was just an example what a viewer could have recorded during the various episodes. So starting at 60%, the comprehension level rose slightly by episode 3, then dipped during episode 10 to 32%. then increased to 75% by episode 7. Again, this was just an example. The rate of growth would vary by individual. Now we look at adding today's episode to a similar example, reaching 90% comprehension of the video clips. Now the graph clearly shows the progress, and this is what's important. It's helpful to assess your own comprehension and see your progress. Now this graph does not show the rate of progress because the episodes are not evenly spaced, but this example would show that the viewer comprehends much more the video clip content than was the case at the beginning. Your own experience may be closer to this example. Beginning with a comprehension level of around 30%, this viewer increased to 75% comprehension by the 31st episode, a great amount of growth. Or your experience may have been closer to this example, starting at a strong 75% comprehension at the beginning of the unit. Comprehension rose to 85% by the 31st episode. Now, in general, progress slows in the upper percentages of the graph. Approximately 100%, I should say approaching 100% comprehension may be agonizingly slow, but progress is always worth celebrating. And honestly, you may not always comprehend 100% in your own home language. I certainly don't. So if you find your comprehension is at a high percent, here's a way to fine-tune your assessment. Repeat the last video clip, but this time turn away from the monitor or the TV. See how much you understand by just listening to the audio. This would test your listening skills without all the context clues provided by the video input. Better yet, choose a video clip from one of our earlier episodes, one you saw a long time ago. That would be an even tougher assessment and would probably result in a lower percentage. Now, you could do that again during the next unit and see if your listening comprehension has grown without the help of visual input. Now, if you've developed an interest in our theme of trains and railroads, I suggest continuing to watch videos and to read about the topic. There are many feature-length movies that involve trains. A handy list can be found in the Historic Rails catalog. One movie with lots of laughs is called Silver Streak with comedian Richard Pryor. Now, we're nearing the end of our theme on trains and railroads. Now, if you've enjoyed watching the video clips we feature on Ramping Up Your English, you'll be glad to hear that we have more to see in our next episode, which will be the last episode on trains and railroads. Visit my website, letscreate.org, for bonus videos. I'll post them as I continue riding the rails. You can watch today's show again at letscreate.org and take a closer look at the graphs we used, along with step-by-step directions in doing your own self-assessment. The episode 31 page has a link to Greg Schindel so you can enjoy more of the great train songs. You can also watch today's program and even download it by visiting archive.org/details/RogueTV. It's available there on video on demand. Choose Ramping Up Your English from the sidebar on the right, or choose my name, John Letts. Then choose episode 31. Now, if you'd rather see animals than watch train videos, you'll be happy to know that our next thematic unit will be animals. We'll start that unit soon after trains and railroads. Keep checking the letscreate.org website and keep watching Rogue Valley TV. You can watch Ramping Up Your English on Channel 15 and others on the Ashland Home Network or on Channel 182 on Charter Cable in the rest of Southern Oregon. Times will vary in other parts of the country. Check your local public access or educational TV station for the show times. Well, that's all the time we have today. I want to thank my volunteer crew, my announcer Bob Ayers, RVTV, and I want to thank you, our viewers. See you next time on Ramping Up Your English. We leave you with some favorite train rides with natural sound. I hope you enjoy the ride. I'm John Letts.
This is the subway in Frankfurt, Germany. Lots of forested acreage.
You've been watching Ramping Up Your English, a support program for intermediate level English language learners. Learn more. Visit our website at letscreate.org. You can also watch or download today's program at archive.org/details/roguetv. Join us next time on RBTV Voices for Ramping Up Your English.